Patterson Foundation
strengthens people, organizations, and communities by focusing on issues that address mutual aspirations,
foster wide participation, and encourage learning and sharing.
Welcome to the new Civic Path series, a Beyond the Blog podcast of the Patterson Foundation. My name is Leah Verier-Dunn, and I'll be your host today as we dive into the experience of the new Civic Path book circles, this time through the lens of one of our TPF facilitators. Carolina Franco is joining us today to share about her experience facilitating new Civic Path book circles. She is the founder and director of CreArte Latino Cultural Center, an amazing hub for cultural exchange between the Hispanic and Latinx community and the community at large. I'm lucky enough to work with Carolina at TPF as part of the Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading team, so I am extra thrilled to have her here as a guest today. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Leah. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. I'll start by sharing that I'm really moved by the work that you're doing at CreArte, and I want our listeners to know more about this cultural arts center that you've cultivated. Can you share with us a little bit more about yourself and the organization?
Yes, I am originally from Colombia. I've been here for 21 years now, and I started getting to participate in CreArte Latino back in 2012. I am actually co-founder. I was someone else who had the idea of doing a play in Spanish for the Hispanic community, and I was very thrilled. And it's been now, 8 years that we've been a nonprofit. Before we were doing plays here and there, but since 2017 we became a nonprofit, and we're doing just a lot of things for the Hispanic community, but we are also being that cultural exchange between the Hispanic community, the community at large, through arts, education, and service. So our programs are growing immensely because of the needs in our region.
That's so wonderful. It's clear you're motivated by building community and bringing people together. What encouraged you to join the new Civic Path as a facilitator? And did you have any fears or hesitations as you were, making that choice?
So I was part of the Harwood Institute. I did take that a few years ago, and I just love how Rich thinks and how he inspires everyone in our community, or in the whole country, I should say. And it's been a year for many of our members, especially in the Hispanic Latino community. We have felt it, so I gotta say it was a magical call. I just knew I wanted to be involved, to hear other voices, and it was very inspiring to me to be able to facilitate and maybe listen more and learn more from others. Just reading the book gave me a lot of hope, actually, which I know that's one of the intentions. And I facilitated 2 groups, and we had a mixed audience. So it was nice to hear the relief, or having just being a safe space for conversation in general. But at the same time, learning from others who are not, from the Hispanic community, just learning that there are many struggles, but that, again, we all have different goals, but at the same time, they're common aspirations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of your book circles was with the Manatee Literacy Council at Goodwill, and the other one was at CreArte. What was it like, not only facilitating, but inviting the spirit of a new Civic Path into the community that you've spent so much time building?
Yes, it was very nice. For the one at CreArte Latino, we had pretty much a family who joined, and that was very helpful because they came, and we invited a few of our volunteers or community partners who usually work with us at CreArte. So it was a very nice combination, I should say. And then the Manatee Literacy group, it was already their group, right? So it was more of a closed group. But I was pretty much facilitating them within the same weeks. So it was a very interesting experience to see how different both groups were. But I just gotta say, I learned so much from both.
Do you feel like the concepts that you discussed in your group, is there a way that you see them weaving into the work that you're already doing day to day at CreArte?
Absolutely. So I think definitely right now there's a lot of sensibility, and that definitely I noticed on both groups. I noticed that both groups are they really care about, again, the Spanish-speaking community. At Manatee Literacy Council, they teach English to immigrants, so obviously they have seen a lot of things happening this year, but there were many ideas that arise and many good examples that really, really deeply touched my heart. And then the one at CreArte, it was naturally, organically going that way because most of the group were Hispanics or their parents were Hispanic. So it definitely helped us bridge how everyone feels. And again, I keep going back to the common aspirations, but that's definitely my takeaway, to know that it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter what language you speak, we still want many of the same things, right? So it was very nice to hear those conversations and to hear so many different perspectives.
Yeah, it's those different perspectives that I think really remind us that we're all human at the end of the day. We come from different places. Our backgrounds are different. Maybe we speak different languages. But first and foremost, we're humans, and we all want to feel good at the end of each day, and we want to feel like we've been respected. And I think that's something that people want to be able to exchange back and forth with each other. And it sounds like your book circles and all of our book circles are really helping facilitate that space of kindness and sensitivity, as you mentioned. So for those wondering about the types of conversations that we're having in the book circles, I just wanted to share that the questions that the facilitators are focused on are really focused on building a sense of community and fostering positive relationships amongst citizens and discovering shared aspirations, which is something we're always talking about at the Patterson Foundation, and embracing possibilities for the collective future through these guided discussions. So I wanted to give our listeners a couple examples. One of the questions is, what does being a good neighbor look like in action? Another one is, how have you seen authentic hope make a difference? What are the ways that you can start small as you live, work, and play? And on a recent podcast, one of our guests shared that this really isn't necessarily the typical exchange we're having with our friends or our neighbors or our colleagues. We're not always asking these questions. So with that said, what has been the response to the discussion questions in your groups? Bringing up these questions in your groups that maybe are some new-ish type questions. What's been the response from the people participating?
I can tell from session 1 to session 3, there was a lot of difference, right? The approach was different. So session 1, some of these questions were part of it, and it was, I could tell it was, I don't want to say negative, but more challenging, right? It was challenging. There was a lot of, everyone was inspired. Everyone wanted to share, but it definitely felt like, they were just letting go, right, of how they have been feeling. And then I think session 2 was my favorite with both groups. Just because I felt like it was starting to go that way, right? It started to be more hopeful, and I guess everyone was getting more familiar with all the terms, right? So they started organically. They were using so many terms or words that we use here at the Patterson Foundation also. So it was very nice to see. And then the smallifying, the starting local, I saw that session 2 and session 3 for sure, just taking that responsibility that it's not about what is everyone else going to do, but what about us? What about me, right? Which is a part of the book. So starting to feel that, to hear that momentum, definitely was very, very nice to witness.
I agree. Watching the arc, because I've been a facilitator for a couple of book circles, also from session 1 to session 3, what I saw a little bit in session one was two things. Either like you were saying, where it's like everybody's like, oh, here's my opportunity, like to put it all out on the table, or there was a lot of caution. I'm not sure if I can trust these people. I don't know what it is. And, we always say at TPF, change happens at the speed of trust. So by the time you got to the third session, you could really see the trust in each other. And that even though clearly there's people who feel differently at the table, that everyone knew that what they shared was safe to share in that room. And that was I think the whole point of the book circle, and to see that arc was so special. So we talked with several participants on the podcast, but this is our first time interviewing a facilitator. And I'm really happy to hear about the perspective of the facilitator versus a participant this time. What patterns or themes are you noticing, or have you noticed across your circles?
Definitely, I gotta say, the smallifying, the realizing, okay, we can take just small steps, but they're going to make a big difference. I gotta say, someone shared an example of someone who learned English because of them, and how that really impacted this person's family, their neighbors, their friends. So that created this momentum, right? The ripple effect. Mm-hmm. And that person also, once he got to be fluent in English, he also volunteered. He came back to volunteer. He wanted to teach others. So I thought that was just so beautiful. But many of these examples, and then someone in the other group, someone mentioned that we are hope. I am hope. And sometimes we forget that power that we have to make a difference and to do something small, but really change someone else's life or perspective, and make that contagious. That was actually a common word in both groups, that, everything is contagious. So why not making the positive more contagious, the good more contagious?
That's a great point. I think smallifying was probably the thing most talked about in both of my groups, because I think what the idea of making something smaller or doing it closer to home does for everyone is it really strengthens how you feel about the impact that's possible for you. And so when we kept talking about smallifying and, just bring it even beyond local, like bring it to your house first and your kitchen table, then bring it to your neighbor, everyone seemed to feel like, have a collective deep breath, like, oh, you know what, actually, I can do that. That is within reach. And then it's like, once you take that first step, it feels easier to take the next. And then you let the dominoes or the contagion or whatever happens next.
Exactly.
Can you share a moment that reminded you why this work matters, or why it gives you so much hope?
Yes. It's hard to choose one moment. I gotta say, session 2 of one of my groups, someone did share how she was starting to have a plan B in case, not to get political here or anything, but she had a plan B in case she needed to leave the country. And the way she shared that was very, almost like it seemed very normal. Like, for her, it was no longer a big deal. It was a reality. I gotta be ready, And I could tell, I actually get chills, because I could tell everyone else was feeling very, impacted by that, and also like her feelings and her just her emotions about that topic. But they shared. They mentioned so many good things to her. They were complimenting her, and they were pretty much motivating her to, hey, there are other paths, and just keeping everything as positive as possible. But that was a moment of, I could tell right away that, okay, this is about smallifying, just complimenting the others, about giving comfort to others. And that gave a big, that made a big difference. And then I feel like she also realized how she was feeling about the whole situation, and it gave her more like strength and reasons to be more resilient versus just maybe giving up, thinking of giving up.
Wow, I love that, giving her reasons to be more resilient.
Mm-hmm.
We all need that. The reminder of why being resilient matters and is important. That must have been really moving for everyone in this circle. We know that facilitating calls upon us to support a spirit of active listening, creating a welcome and safe environment, and forging and strengthening relationships within our group. And I imagine that much of this naturally already aligns with the work that you do at CreArte. How has this experience either strengthened your efforts or offered you a refreshed look on how you might approach what you do?
It has strengthened the way I feel and the way I think, but I've also discovered some new tools for sure. I tend to forget, I tend to forget that bad examples are good examples. And this is actually this is actually a quote from one of our participants. But that really made me think, even when something bad happens, we're learning what doesn't work, or how something made someone feel, or how something made me uncomfortable, and why. So I'm still learning. So that was definitely one of the big tools that was a bit unexpected. And it was beautiful because I learned it from a participant, right? But with everything else, and I think it's because I also was part of the Harwood Institute, there were just very good reminders of the power that we have as humans, but remembering that we are imperfectly perfect or perfectly imperfect. It goes both ways. So yeah, just our community needs more of this. It was very nice to be a facilitator, and I do believe that our participants are having more conversations outside of the circles, because they were very inspired, they were very connected. At times it felt like we didn't have enough time, so I'm sure, and I think that was, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I felt like, okay, they didn't have time to say that here, they're going to talk to someone, they're going to continue these conversations with someone else.
I think you're so right that I'm sure that it was strategic, these three circles, to a certain extent, because it's like the fire was lit, but we weren't trying to sustain it for so long that by the time we end everything, it's like the fire starts to, everybody's like ready and raring to go, and they're like, oh no, it's book circle 3, what next? So I think these conversations are continuing, at least that's what I'm really recognizing. I've noticed that each book circle really seems to possess its own little micro culture, and I want listeners to know that there's truly room for everyone at these tables. What did you notice about the difference between your two groups, and how did those differences influence where the conversations went?
Session 1 with one group, they all knew each other, they worked together before, and I could tell they were very aligned the way they thought, right? So they will give each other ideas, but it was very similar. And it was good. And I think that's why I shared this with our team. It definitely felt like, okay, an hour and 15 minutes with this group is not going to be enough, because I think everyone was more comfortable, right? They already knew it was a safe space. With the other group, maybe time was actually okay. Time was enough for the first session, but we were having a good time. We were laughing, and someone shared how beautiful to come here and to just meet people and get to laugh with strangers. Mm-hmm. And she did say she was not expecting so much laughter out of this book, because again, I think that letting go and starting to feel safe here and there, starting to feel safe more and more as everyone else was sharing, gave everyone that, okay. And then some examples were coming out, and the examples were funny. But yeah, I just, even choosing the name was a fun exercise for the group name, was a fun exercise for this group, right? So again, it was very, very different, but both experiences were amazing.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that. I think we want to make sure that everyone knows we really do mean everyone when we're inviting people to circle, and we're not looking, some groups are an organized group that decided to go for it, but in general, we're trying to pair people up in groups with others that they don't know, because there is something that gets disarmed after that first session of recognizing that it's a safe space, and then it's like starting to open up. In some ways, you can almost be more comfortable in a room of strangers than in a room of people because it's like, maybe there's nothing to lose here and I can actually share this more openly. So despite the diversity in each of your groups, how did you, especially the one that was like a little bit more of a mixed group, how did you go about creating the safe space and really welcoming in the participants from all walks of life so that every voice truly had an opportunity to be heard?
I gotta say, I love the question of the day. I know that's something that we do here at the Patterson Foundation pretty much for every meeting. So it breaks the ice. I mean, goes back to us as human. And many times, it has some relation with the book, but at times they're random questions of the day. And I really feel like that was very helpful. And then for session 2 and session 3, it was about what have you done so far with what we've learned, or with, with the material that you've read. And that was a perfect way to get into it, right? Because it was a personal, and again, intentionally, probably, it was about, okay, what have you done? The small things, local, what have you done? But just everyone sharing examples, or even recognizing, oops, maybe I have not done as much, but just made everyone feel comfortable. And just, the listening was the key for both groups. Everyone really, really respected when someone else was sharing their point of view. But yeah, I gotta say, listening and just the way that this was created to break the ice for every session was very helpful.
Yeah, those questions of the day they sort of like release the tension as you walk in. It reminds you, okay, we're all here focused on the same thing. Mm-hmm. Now, you shared with us a little bit about the group that was filled with laughter, which is so wonderful, especially considering the book is talking about hard things, and laughter isn't necessarily the first thing that comes to mind. But I also know that there was, in one of your groups, one of the sessions, there were some tears shed over some recent events that happened in the country. How did your group go about honoring and showing empathy when tears entered the space?
It was the pause. Everyone listened, everyone paused, and there was not judging. Even though we didn't say much, I include myself, our body language was saying a lot. Like, we were there for this person, and nobody reacted or said, you shouldn't feel this way, right? It was it was comforting. Mm-hmm. It was acknowledging, yes, I understand why you feel this way, and this is a perfect. I think this was actually when the bad example is a good example. I think this is pretty much where it came out. Mm-hmm. We know how you feel, and we got to learn from that. We don't want others to feel the way you feel. So it was like let's take action. Let's really listen, be here for you, but also learn from this. We're not going to ignore it. We're going to try to do something little so this doesn't happen as often.
Yeah. Why do you feel like it's important for people to jump on this opportunity?
Because why not? We are part of our community, and it's just, the Civic Path, to me, is the smallest thing you can do right now, just to have conversations with others, learn why they feel this way and how their life experience really creates their perspective, right? It's not that they think this way because they want to think this way. Something has happened, something has affected them. that they feel this way and may feel very, very different about a controversial topic, right? But this is a big tool, so we don't have to create the questions, we don't have to create the material. Everything is in here. It's such a powerful book. It's not a lot to read, it's not a big commitment, and everything is designed to make it a success for us to have a better community. So yeah, why not? If you're part of the community, don't hesitate, don't question it.
And I just want to amplify what you said about learning the why from somebody, because especially with social media and 24-hour news cycles, there's so much talk. We talk in sound bites and headlines. And it typically, many people don't even, including myself, read a full article, because it's like you see the headline, you're like, well, I know what happened, and you keep scrolling. But I think a lot of times the contentious nature of trying to communicate with people comes from not being able to get past that like initial headline. But the circle allows us to get to the why do you feel that way about something. I think that really helps things move along. So as we kind of wrap things up, I just wanted to share some reflections and insights from some of your participants in the group that may spur our listeners to act and sign up before the circle opportunity ends at the end of October. When we asked the participants as we begin this book circle journey, what do you hope to contribute on the conversations and what do you hope to take away? One participant shared, I hope to be a good listener. I hope that I find a path to be more empathetic to people with different opinions. I hope to walk away feeling less angry. I hope I can contribute positive energy. Another said, making people more aware of the problems in our society and what I can do on all levels to improve that. Someone also added, I hope to listen and to learn about others' perspectives and take away new ideas and ways to help our community unite. And finally, one person shared, I'm grateful for the opportunity at this time. I'm at the curiosity stage, which we love curiosity, of course. Listeners, I'm hopeful you hear the overarching, willingness and desire to engage and contribute in conversations that unite and uplift us as we work towards making the community stronger. I want to hear from you again, Carolina, as the person leading the space. What's one word, just one, that you would use to describe your feelings or thoughts before the circle started? And then what's another word that you would give us to describe how you felt after your circle concluded?
Before, need. After, momentum.
I love those.
Someone shared, I have not been here for too long, so I don't really know what this community needs. And I love that organically, at the end of that session, she asked, what does Sarasota need? And that is so simple, but I was so happy to witness that. Like in just one session, in just a few minutes, it went from, I don't know, to what are the problems or what does Sarasota need? And then everyone answering together. And again, that creating momentum to, wow, aha moment.
Well, it's clear that you're committed to strengthening our community by bringing people together, both through the circles and through CreArte. And I'm just so appreciative for you joining us today to share more about your experience with the book circles. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Listeners, use the QR code on your screen to sign up to join a new Civic Path book circle. And as always, to learn more and stay tuned, please visit thepattersonfoundation.org.